welcome to another episode of the Laid Back Life podcast. We're talking about how to love entrepreneurship, life, and improve daily. Joining me today, one of my favorite people in the legal industry to talk to, Jayden Doye. Jayden is the man, the man behind the numbers, the strategist behind the success, the CPA that keeps law firms thriving. And I just you have to follow Jayden. Like, not only do you drop like actionable tips, but you drop the funniest stories of, people cheaping out and how it goes wrong and how they call you. And I mean, you are everywhere, speaking at all these things, running conferences, being at conferences, talking and helping people. I've had the opportunity to see a bunch of your presentations. They're all phenomenal. Jayden really gives some great wisdom. Weirdly, though, I guess rather than having you drop those conversations, I really want to talk about your travel schedule, because you also talk about the fact that you travel every month or at least a week every month with your company, right?
Yes.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So I would love to hear what you had to do to be able to do that. And then also, I think, how you're leveraging that to grow your business, because ultimately, like, I'm all about multi-impacts. And so if you can do the travel you want to do while also helping a business grow, like, I'm all for it. And I think you are one of the masters on that. So I'm super excited to have you today.
Absolutely. So I think before we get into how I got into traveling almost a week every month, we should kind of talk about the kind of progression. So it didn't happen overnight, right? I started, when I started my business, I knew that education was the way to get in front of the ideal audience, right? And so I started locally first. I started with webinars, and then I started with the Georgia Bar. And then I started spending my own money. Well, the business started spending money for me to go to conferences, to, get the brand out there. And I spent a year of doing that. And that was maybe let's just say 8 for like the first year, right? So I was really out there. And then from there, I was able to build those relationships with the people in charge to be able to speak on some of these stages and speak at some of these conferences and hold workshops and things of that nature. And so now we're at the point where I'm looking at my calendar behind me on the wall, and it's a week, at least a week a month, and sometimes it's twice a month. But the way I make it work is I think about it like there's 20 normal working days a month, right? So Monday through Friday, 4 weeks. And so what I do is I work Saturdays on the weeks when I'm here, like in the state. So, but even with me working Saturdays, I'm still working less days than people that work the traditional Monday through Friday.
Right.
And in order to do that, we have to have workflows in place. So I started hiring in my CPA firm early on, maybe 6 months into having the
Hold on,
firm.
let me jump in, because I want to get to that, but I have a
Okay.
question before we get into like the nuts and bolts.
Okay.
Did you know from day one that you wanted to build this company for you to be able to travel?
No,
Okay.
that's a great question. I'll tell you why I really got into travel, because at one point I was working 80 hours a week. And this was 2 months straight. It was during the tail end of COVID. So December of 2020 and January of 2021. I was working 80 hours a week, and I had gained 23 pounds. And when I went to the doctor, they told me that I had high blood pressure. So imagine in your 20s having high blood pressure. So at that point, that's when I knew I needed to make a change. And, they said I needed to relax, travel, stuff like that. So that's when the travel started. And the first place I went was Mexico. And because, during COVID, Cancun was like, please come, amigos, ven aquí. Okay. So when I went there, I came back feeling so refreshed and feeling more invigorated to get in, to really assess the points in my business that needed to make a change so that I wasn't stressed out and working 80 hours a week. And granted, I had a team. I had 12 people working under me at the time, and I was still working 80 hours a week.
I hear you, man. That's my journey as well. I'm curious, that first vacation, right? That Cancun trip.
Mm-hmm.
other than the doctor being like, Jayden, like your health needs you to go somewhere, like what else got you to do that? What like did you were you just like, I'm gonna do it and figure it out? Did you, game plan anything before you left? Like, how did you get that first vacation under your belt?
Honestly, it was a Facebook ad. Those darn Facebook ads get me every time. So it was a really good deal. It was like $250 for a whole week at this resort in Cancun, and not even Cancun, Riviera Maya. And so honestly, yeah, I went with one of my best friends and we just figured it out when we got there. I didn't do too much. At that time, I wasn't really much of a planner because traveling internationally wasn't really a thing for me. But I kind of just figured it out there. And there were a number of excursions that you could do. There were a number of different companies that created curated experiences for people because a lot of people were going to Tulum and Riviera Maya is only an hour and a half from Tulum. So it ended up working out where we figured it out when we got there.
What did you learn? Like, if another firm owner was listening to, or if a law firm owner was listening to this and they said, "Hey, I want to do the same thing that Jayden did," would you give them advice differently for that first one, or would you say just go and figure it out, and then you'll know how to do it better the next time?
The only thing that I would say is try your best to figure out, to make it clear to your team what a 911 issue is, right?
Gotcha.
Because that first trip, I'm still getting team messages and things of that nature. So the boundaries weren't really respected as much because they were used to me being in the office so much. So my advice would be figure out how you can create a, an environment where they're not relying on you for a few days.
I love that. So, and it's interesting. So last week we had Rory Safer on, and Rory did like almost 4 years of travel before he started his firm. And so it's interesting because like now he's trying to do what you have created now, but having had the travel experience to fill in the business stuff. Here, I just love the concept of like, all right, the doctor told me to do it. I booked this trip, and like, dear office, please only call me if the building is legitimately on fire. So,
Right.
how did it go? Like, was the office okay without you for the week?
Yeah, I mean, they were. And I think that now, we're years later. Now, I've created an environment where we have a certain hierarchy that we didn't have before. That was another issue. I was the only leader in the organization. I didn't have a leadership team. Now I have a small leadership team where I'm not required to communicate with everyone every day. I only communicate with a few members of the organization on a, daily or weekly basis.
So I want to talk about how you got to that, but stay with me coming back from this first trip. Like, what was the first thing that you did to make the next trip easier, having been through the first one?
So the first thing I had to do was one do a debrief as far as like, these are things that can wait versus these are things that can't wait. And then also don't give me bad news when I'm on vacation. Like, let's just be like, if somebody is saying that they're leaving, okay, they're whether I address this now or later, they're gonna leave. So good riddance, so don't give me any bad news. But then also I felt very invigorated. So I had the energy to really assess members of the organization and assess the organization as a whole. And we actually had to let go of 3 people because they were just a waste of time and money.
Well, and it's so interesting you mentioned this twice, that invigoration feel. Like, so many of my coaching clients don't take vacation, they just work from other places. And what we're talking about here is like actually enjoying the travel. Like, it's not just doing 10 hours a day of work on your laptop from a beach in Tulum versus from your office. It's like truly being able to unplug and have that invigoration, have that rest. Like, I love that you've highlighted that. I mean, I like that word from this purpose.
Mm-hmm. And your body needs, I mean, there's different types of rest that we need. Our body needs rest, our mind needs rest, our spirit needs rest. And lawyers, uh, most lawyers are in very stressful environments and their clients are in very stressful situations and they transfer that energy over to the lawyer. So it's very important for them to do a reset every once in a while.
I love it. It's so true. And I mean, this is a big point of like I push all my clients like take a day off during the week. You know, whether you're going to work Saturdays or not, the fact that you're not there on a random Tuesday gives you a lot of this feedback. You know, okay, hey, this is the thing that this was the question that needs to be answered when I was there. This is the issue that needs to be addressed. You know, this is the leadership team. You know, I need somebody else to be able to write checks or, you know, deal with an employee who's putting in notice or, you know, whatever else while you're gone. I love that concept. Like none of us should
Yep.
be essential to our own businesses. Otherwise, we don't have a business. We have a job working for ourselves.
Yep. Exactly.
So walk me through this transition from, you know, that first vacation to now having this leadership team, you know, having checklists, workflows, whatever you call them.
Yeah, so I'll do both internally and then externally. So internally, we promoted someone to a senior level position, and now they're operations manager. So we now have a team of about 23, soon to be 25 in a couple of weeks. And so we definitely, and for me, I am a D on, well, I was a D on the disc assessment, and now I'm realizing that I'm more of an I, but, and I'm green on the true colors assessment, meaning I'm problem solution. I don't care about your day. I don't care how your family's doing. What is the problem and how can I solve it? However, I've realized that I've had to change that as a leader, right? I need to be more empathetic, get to know people on a personal level. And so, but that takes time out of your day, right? So with that, I've had to transition my role into more of like a mentoring role for people, and especially for the leaders, really building up those leaders. And so since then, we've hired other people that I'm building leaders. I feel like every year we're going to just be going through a round of like leadership development for people that want to be leaders in the organization. But this allows me to have a big team and not have to worry about what every single person is doing because they report to the respective parties. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I mean, I think that's the issue a lot of firms, the hump that a lot of firms don't get over is that middle management. You know, it's one thing when it's you overseeing 3 to 5 people, but when it's you overseeing 8 people, like that's not plus doing the work, plus being the business owner, plus, you know, it's so tough. So I love this concept of building internal leaders because you're not going to be able to manage 24 other people.
Yep. Then we had to beef up our workflows. So in our practice management system, every project has subtasks, right? And so what we've done is I've created templates where for every subtask, it gives the instructions on how to complete this subtask. And the person that's responsible for it can plug in the client specific thing. So get bank statements from this bank, this bank, this bank. So they have that template there and they just need to fill in the banks. So every month when they do it, they know what to do. Another problem we were having was quality control, where things were coming to me and I'm like, you are so lucky you're not in front of me right now because I'm tempted to slap you right now. Like the fact that you think that this is okay to give to me to review is honestly unacceptable. You know, it's just, it was so bad. That's why I had to fire some people because I'm like, why am I paying you to do a job that you clearly don't care to do correctly? And so what we had to do was create template, get rid of people that were wasting time, but also create checklists and templates so that this is the list of things you need to do before it comes to me to review. So then from there, we hired the right people to do the monthly reviews. Now I don't have to do the monthly reviews. So, you know, we have over 100 clients. That requires a lot of time. So now I'm saving a lot of time by not having to do that. So having the right people and systems in place has been key internally.
What software are you currently using for all this stuff?
So we use Canopy Tax. So that's a accounting practice management software. And I've done the research as far as other systems are concerned, and every system is like missing two or three things that I need. You know,
Yeah.
this one only has A through B, this one has C through F. So for right now, this is the best. There is one other one that's on the market that I think might be better from a reporting standpoint, as far as like me getting certain numbers that I want. However, they don't, at the time when I did my inquiry, you had to have at least 20 members. Um, and I didn't have 20 members at the time. So I'm just sticking with the software that I have. I've been with them since 2020, so they give me a pretty good discount to stay a client. And
There
I
you
get
go.
to give them suggestions on how to improve every year. So that's another thing. When people are not getting what they want from the software, it's important that they speak to someone on the developmental team so that they can make it clear, this is what I need. You know, this is the type of practice area that I have, and this is what I need. Me being a flat fee firm, a lot of the tools on out there are cater more to hourly firms. And so I had to make it clear, as a flat fee firm owner, this is what I need to succeed. And if you can't provide that, then I'll be forced to go somewhere else.
So in terms of the checklist, the workflows, all that stuff, like that's right in the practice management software?
Um, the workflows are, yes. The checklist is not. The checklist is in our document storage system, which I have to, which whoever reviews will need to look at that anyway, because every month, in addition to the financial statements, our clients get financial packets, which has all the backup, and it shows that we did the tick tie calculate, and we verified numbers and things of that nature. And then the checklist is in that same folder. So people are not
Gotcha.
having to look in a million different places for things.
Well, I mean, that's so it's interesting to me, like, going back to Aristotle, talks about the golden mean. Like, if you're always selfish, it sucks. If you're never selfish, it also sucks. And so I think it's funny from a software standpoint. You'll talk to law firm owners that have zero software, and then you'll talk to them that have 27 different programs that don't talk to each other, and nobody knows where to find stuff. So I like all right, look, we've got these two locations, check here, and you got to check both of them anyway. I think that's great to be able to get, 99% of what you want.
Yeah, so one of the things that I definitely needed to implement was, because we were, we grew pretty fast, was my rule was it should not take me an hour to review anything. It should take me 15 or 30 minutes. And so I had to create a system where, what exactly do I need to be able to review this in 15 or 30 minutes? And so once I perfected that system, now I can hire people that can fill in the gap and replicate what I've already done.
I've never heard somebody put it that way, and I think that's brilliant. Like, what sort of checklist or template do I need to be able to review this in 15 minutes or 30 minutes out of 60? That is the most actionable tip. Thank you.
Yep. So when I'm working with business attorneys and they're complaining about, the contracts not being right, or I'm working with family law attorneys and they're complaining about the briefs and the motions not being right, all you need to do is create a checklist. These are the 17 points that you need to make sure are good before it comes to me. See, the problem is a lot of people do work, but they don't review their own work. And you have to make sure that you are making it clear that you are responsible for reviewing your work before you send it to the next person, because
Yeah.
otherwise people will be lazy. A lot of people in the workforce are lazy by nature. So as employers, we have to make it clear that being lazy will not work here.
Well, and I think so. Look, let's set aside any confidential information from what I'm about to say. So, client confirmation information, put that out. But like, one of the things I love about ChatGPT is the ability for it to give you that second opinion. Like, hey, this is my brief. This is our checklist. Do I have everything I need? Does it match? Is the grammar correct? Is the spelling correct? And again, not confidential client information. Like, please, please, please don't be that person. But I just think that makes it so easy that I'm almost like, so many of our checklists are like, all right, well, now run this marketing material through ChatGPT, ask it this prompt and see what feedback it gives you as that way to
Mm-hmm.
have that extra check.
Yep,
I love it.
absolutely. Now,
What? Oh, yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say externally, how I grew it to the point where I'm doing so many traveling now is honestly, boots on the ground. When I go to one conference, I ask what other conferences I need to be aware of. And so then you get, I'm asking, I'm asking vendors, where else are you vending? What's been successful for you? I'm asking prospective clients what other conferences you're going to, because if somebody is my best client avatar and then they're going to certain conferences, that's an indication to me that I need to be at those conferences as well. And then networking from there. I feel like I spent so much time doing so many organizations favors that now, the seeds that I was planting, the relationships that I started to grow and continue to nurture, it's really paying off and allowing me to be in certain places.
I love it. Do you I guess I'm going to go slightly out of order here, but it's directly to that point. In terms of you at these conferences, I
Mhm.
know you're speaking at a bunch of them. Like, is Prestige Accounting getting a booth at a lot of them? Is it just you? Are you bringing other team members? Like, walk me through some of that stuff.
Most of them, I don't really need a booth. I feel like I am the booth.
I, okay,
I
so
just,
for everybody who is, if you're not watching this, you're missing out on seeing Jayden. But also like ABA Tech Show, right? So I'm always in my Hawaiian shirt. I was, my light was taken away by Jayden in this really cool, like almost like Two-Face style, black on one side, gold on the other jacket. I think it was a tiger in gold on the jacket, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it was something like a tribal tiger stuff type of print. Yeah.
It was so cool. And like everybody else is wearing, dark colored suit with nothing cool. Like you could see Jayden across the entire ABA Tech show. And obviously, you're always chatting with people. So I agree with you in the you are the booth.
Yeah, so my goal is what can I wear that will stop people in their tracks? And so all day I'm getting compliments, and that's the open invitation to start a conversation. So that's my mentality. Sometimes let's be real, at these conferences you won't sometimes people don't get a high ROI on having a booth because a lot of times the conference hasn't done a good job of creating an environment where they incentivize people to talk to the vendors. They actually avoid the vendors. Like I just sit in the hallway and watch, and people like try not to make eye contact and things of that nature. And so I make sure that if I'm going to have a table, it's going to work. And most likely, I'm going to have an employee at the table if I do that because I need to be working the room. So I want all eyes on me and I want the attention because that is what will get people to talk to me and feel comfortable speaking with me. And that's the goal, to have conversations and see where it leads.
Yeah, I want to agree. And I want to highlight, so also, I mean, I'm going to bring up ABA Tech Show because it was 6 weeks ago or whatever. I got the chance to follow Seth Price around a little bit when he does this. So we had Seth on I don't know, 4 weeks ago, something like that for the show. Seth goes, so from Blue Shark, goes up to like every vendor and it's just like, hey, what do you sell? What do you do? What's this? And so what comes from it, I have no idea. There's a bunch of people he's known for years that he's talking to them on their, their second launch, their third launch, whatever it is. But it was just so interesting to see like the networking with the other vendors at the conference
Mm-hmm.
as well. Obviously with the people running the conference, obviously with the people attending the conference just so cool to hear that from him and then also from you in terms of people that I have seen walk the walk and truly do this and the success that comes from it.
Yeah, I specifically make sure I carve out anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to work the exhibit hall because you never know who could be a great referral partner, who could sponsor one of my retreats in the future, or who can add value to my clients. Because we do accounting and consulting, a lot of times there are things that we don't do that we need to bring a third party in and say, these are people that I have vetted and these are the different options that I would recommend you go with.
Well, and especially from, similar thing for me. My clients will be like, "Oh, we're on this practice management system. Do you know anything about it?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but I was talking to their sales rep. I was talking to their product manager at this conference. Let me get email and on with them for 30 minutes to kind of walk through it." So I
Hmm.
love it. It really does help you keep up, especially when people like you and I who are so industry specific. It's easy to keep a pulse on the industry through multiple channels of people involved in the industry.
Yep. And with that, practice management, I have clients on many different practice management tools. So learning the tool myself has been beneficial, but also having a rep that I can contact with any questions or give suggestions to has been helpful. I know specifically with the trust accounting, many tools don't really provide the assistance that you need to make sure that the trust account is reconciled or make it easier for us to do our job. And so I've had conversations with different software providers on what we need, and I've actually seen some of that being implemented. So it's been great.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Like, talk about making a change, a needed change in the industry by seeing the need and then going to the people that can plug the need on the software side and having them do it.
Yeah.
All right, so let me talk about this week's newsletter. This episode will drop on Tuesday. My newsletter this Friday is our top 10 KPIs. So please, 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 if you are happy with your current reporting, you don't need the newsletter. But if you have no KPIs, or if you have 10,000 KPIs and it's overwhelming, I've got my top 10, all of them centered around intake. So my top 10 intake KPIs coming out this Friday. I hope you'll check that
Great.
out and see a ton of value from there. Coming back to our conversation. So you come back from this first meeting, you're building up the team, you're getting in the position to, travel more, you're leveraging some of the travel stuff. Like, what was the biggest roadblock going from, post that first meeting to where you are now? That first vacation to where you are now?
I think the biggest roadblock for me was taking on too much, which many CEOs do. I was the CEO, CFO, CMO, I was the chief everything officer, right? And in the beginning, when you have a small client list, that's not that much to do because you could put 4 hours a week to each role. But now at this point, these roles are really 40-hour a week roles. And so being able to say, this is the aspect of this job that I do, create a formal job description, delegate, elevate the person that's doing it. For me, I don't mind delegating. Like, letting go is not my problem. However, getting the results that I want when I let go was one of my problems. So what I had to do, like I said earlier, was go through leadership coaching. That helped me tremendously be a better leader and better delegate to team members. And we're constantly, evolving. So it took me, for me, I felt like I was chasing having $1 million firm for a while. I put so much time and energy, and then I got there, and then I feel like when you get to $1 million firm, I feel like it's kind of like running half of a marathon, where it's like, okay, let me pause and catch my breath before I finish out this second leg, right? So there's different problems that you have when you're at the scaling phase versus at the growth phase, where now
Ah,
I'm focused more on building leaders. The hiring the entry level people is the easy part, but the actual hiring leaders and building leaders so that I can go and be gone for days and clients are comfortable with that. That has been the hard work that I've had to be able to do. And also, let's be real. Sometimes when I travel, some of these conference, I'm also like measuring the ROI, right? So my thought process in the beginning was, okay, so if it's expensive, then that's a good sign. That's where the ballers are. Okay. So I paid $3,500 to attend a conference, not even vend at a conference, but to attend a conference. And it was a huge party. That's what it was. It wasn't lucrative. It didn't
ah.
garnish any clients. And I learned to really focus on community. Um, and so now I'm going in a different direction as far as which ones I do. And then I also do my own retreats because I wanted people to experience the positivity that I experienced from getting out of being in the business.
So I don't need you to name any names of other conferences, but I'm curious, you mentioned that concept of community. Like, can you go a little bit deeper for me on what you mean by that?
Oh, absolutely. So, I'll give a good example. So, National Trial Lawyers does maybe like 8 conferences a year, right? And so, when I go to these conferences, and it's geared towards personal injury and trial attorneys. So a lot of times I'm seeing the same people from both vendors and attorneys. So
Okay.
and that's the one time I'm able to see this person, embrace this person, have a cocktail with this person. And so it for me, that's my touch point to nurture these relationships, make sure I'm asking what's new, who do I need to connect you with, things of that nature. So I'm building my community as far as like service providers, where at the end of the day, we're all going after the same client. Let's strategize on how we can help each other. It doesn't hurt you to help me, and it doesn't hurt me to help you.
Well, and so I read Alex Hormozzi's $100 million offers, and he talks about like the making your offer better with those partners. And so it's crazy to be like,
Mhm.
okay, hey, for all my new coaching clients, like you can sit down with Jayden's team, or we've got this, digital product that they offer to do your finances and cash flow. And now like I can offer that to them as an intro to me, which also makes it easier to make them an intro to you because they've tried out some of the work. Like there's a really interesting win-win-win that you can create between multiple vendors as well as the client.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've implemented that in my business, and it's been going great.
There we go. I love it, man. All right, so finding the conferences that are more the right community, seeing, the same people more frequently while also seeing new people instead of just the big
Mhm.
parties. Like what other lessons have you learned during this journey that would be helpful to anybody watching or listening to this?
Two things: know your numbers and delegate. So I delegated a lot of the searching for the conferences. I had a virtual assistant pull the list for me, and then knowing your numbers, actually writing down how many leads you got, how many of those turned into clients. And it's not going to happen overnight, right? So you can't really measure ROI for until 90 days out or a year out. But knowing that is important. Also, sometimes you don't necessarily get clients, but you get some type of knowledge, or you feel a certain way after you went on this trip. So it's also important to jot down in your event debrief what you learned, and how this made your life better. So I've done that as well. And a lot of that is I kind of communicate to a virtual assistant, and they write down for me. So those have definitely been helpful for sure. And then for me, I have personally created um, I practice what I preach. So I'm not just out here saying you guys should travel, but I actually bring a group of attorneys with me to different destinations internationally. I feel like there's so many amazing conferences and masterminds that are domestic, but personally, it's something about traveling internationally that's different. The biggest thing for me is experiencing a different culture and seeing how people could be so happy with so much less.
Interesting.
It's so interesting just experiencing that firsthand. It makes you feel more grateful for what you have. And it's possible to have an abundance mindset, but also I feel like when I do that, it gets me out of the keeping up with the Joneses. So every time I travel, it's to recharge, reset. And being here in Atlanta, it's a really show off city, right? And I feel like I'm confident in when I show off, it's for me. It's not for everyone else. Like I get it. I like getting dressed up, even when I work from home. I'm wearing dress pants right now, right? And a lot of people don't get dressed up even to work from home. And that's me, and that's my
Yeah.
personality style. Yeah, you wear the Hawaiian shirts and the short sleeve, but that's your style, that's your brand, and
Yeah.
you're living in your truth, right? So it makes me, when I come back, it also helps me get the shades off, those rose colored glasses where you think somebody's really doing something, and you can really, and now I have a better sense of discernment where I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're really making this money. I think you just took a picture with somebody's Porsche. I don't really think that's your Porsche, but
Oof.
okay,
I mean, at
yeah,
this
keep
point,
talking.
you had ChatGPT generate, like I'm just amazed. They have what was there's a this thing called fake, I think it's called Fake Famous. And so they have people go to like a warehouse and they take pictures. It looks like they're in a private jet. I'm like, shoot, now like I've got the green screen. I could just be like ChatGPT, make it look like I'm in my own private. It's amazing the opportunity to fake wealth in a way that impacts people that because they care to see the fake stuff. I don't know.
I think it can be helpful and hurtful. It can be helpful in the sense that if you are trying to get people to think in an abundance mindset, certain imagery can help you convey that message. Where I think it's hurtful is where people pretend that this is the lifestyle that I live when you're not even flying Delta, you're flying Spirit. You don't live a first class life, okay?
Whoa, whoa, hold on. You just came for
Listen,
Spirit
Spirit will
Airlines.
not ever get any of my money anymore. I don't
Oh,
care how desperate I am. If it's the only flight, I'm not doing it. The customer service and the customer avatar that they have, it just doesn't sit well with my spirit.
but Jayden, I can bid the $8 for the exit row and get it every time because there aren't six people on the plane willing to spend $8 more for the exit row.
Oh, okay. So, but you're not gonna get
I'm,
free
I'm just, I'm,
movies,
I know, I'm just
you
busting
know.
your, coming. I will tell you, the times I've had to fly Spirit have always been great. Like it is
Hmm.
for everybody's knock on wood. Like, because some of these conferences, you end up coming from like weird cities, or Orlando has a huge hub for a bunch of different airlines. It's just always
Well,
funny to
listen,
end up on them.
I've been lucky with Delta. I mean, I've been lucky with Spirit as well. However, I should say this: business owners need to get a business Amex where they're getting points for spending money on things that they're already going to pay, and then they can use
Yeah.
those points to travel. And if you book travel through AmexTravel.com on an Amex Platinum card, you get 5 times the points. So I was able, when I did
Ooh.
my retreat in Dubai, I was able to go to Dubai for free. I was able to actually get when I did South Africa, I paid for a client to go come to South Africa. She had won a contest, but I paid for her to come to South Africa with points. So that's another thing I think people need to think about is what business cards can you use that will give you points that will help you with travel. And here's the crazy thing, even when I book through Amex Travel, I am getting I'm getting it's also increasing my status with Delta. So I double dip. I get the points on Amex, but I also get the credit on the Delta side as well. So at this point, I'm Diamond Medallion, and I'm probably will be Diamond Medallion for life.
There we go. Well, and you're in Atlanta, so Delta's a huge hub, so it makes it extra helpful.
Exactly.
I love that, man.
But if someone's in America is in a city where American Airlines is the hub, City Card has a great card for American Airlines, and Southwest, I don't know. I can't speak to Southwest, but yeah.
That's okay. No problem, man. All right, so we talked about anything else. We talked about like the building the company to allow you to travel. We talked a little bit
Hmm.
about the traveling to grow the company. I want to go a little bit deeper on that, and then I certainly want to make sure that we hit like the also still traveling for fun again at the end. So,
Hmm.
anything else in terms of I'm going to call it business travel, traveling for business.
Yeah, so I think one thing that really differentiates myself amongst other people is that I sit in the CLEs. Like I am learning. I mean, I'm never gonna draft a demand, but I want to learn the process from both a business management standpoint and I want to learn the technical. I just want to know enough to be dangerous and be able to communicate with my clients and give them different suggestions. Like when it comes with personal injury, you're very familiar with this. Some people don't really understand how TBIs work, right? I didn't even understand a concussion. I thought, and you only have if you have a concussion, that means that you're bleeding somewhere, right? But sometimes a concussion, you can't just look at somebody and tell, or they have
Right.
a big knot. You can't just look at somebody and tell if they've suffered a concussion or not. But because I've went to these PI conferences and learned about more TBI and things of that nature, now I'm able to effectively communicate to my PI clients on ways that they can make sure. Did you send that person to do a TBI test?
Yeah.
Because work up the value, but also figure out how make sure you're doing your due diligence and making sure that you're all of the areas of injury for your clients are being assessed and treated don't just, go do Cairo and ortho and call it a day. There's so many other variant things that you may have not thought of.
Yeah, so directly to that point. So we have like whatever it is, 5 onboarding calls for them. Hey, all right, now make sure treatment and join the doctor, etc. So we took I think there's like 7 questions for TBI and worked those into our already existing onboarding calls. Are you still having brain fog? Are you still having mood swings? How's your sleep? Going through that. And then actually like we were the ones who were like, hey, go talk to your doctor about a TBI eval because we've got it, because you're supposed to track a lot of that stuff over 2 to 3 weeks to see if the symptoms get better or not. And so it's really, I mean, it's made hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in a way where we also had a better client experience because now we're not like, hey, just calling you again to see how things are. Hey, I've got some more questions for you to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, and then experiencing 2 accidents in a 4 month period myself, that experience I wouldn't wish on anyone. But
Yeah.
my concussion was so bad that it reversed the effects of my LASIK eye surgery.
Oh my
So now I
gosh.
have to, yeah, so now I have to go to an optometrist, do an assessment, and then go do the LASIK process again, where it's not like totally bad to where it's like I didn't have it at all, but I had perfect 20/20 vision. So I can read a board from 20 feet away. And now I'm straining to read what's on the menu that's 20 feet away.
Mm,
And my attorney didn't ask me anything surrounding that. So experiencing that myself, now I'm able to say, from a technical standpoint, what I learned, but also from an experience standpoint, this is what I wish my attorney would have done. So don't make the same mistake they made.
I love it. Well, not that you went through it, but I love that you're taking this as a learning opportunity to help more people not have that problem, to help them not have their clients go through the same thing.
Hmm.
All right, so anything else before we transition into back to traveling for fun?
I think we're good there.
All right, so let's talk to me about traveling for fun. We talked about that invigoration on the first one, but like, how are you
Hmm.
continuing to have those really true travel opportunities?
Yeah. So this is how I do it. Okay. So I'm doing a retreat in Turks and Caicos next year. Next in 3 weeks will be my half. In 2 weeks will be my half birthday. So I
Happy
celebrate my
almost half
birthday.
birthday.
Yeah, I celebrate my birthday and my half birthday. Okay. So I am going to Turks for a site visit. And I just so happen to be celebrating my half birthday at the same time. Right. So I'm able to, yeah, I'll go look at a hotel, but how much time would that truly take, right? But I will
Whatever time the
truly.
IRS thinks required to take for it to be deductible.
Exactly. I will do
Jeez.
exactly what is required. And I will have business meetings while I'm there. But I'm going to be staying at this nice house that is on the water, and I am definitely going to be taking that time to celebrate life and just enjoy. So for me, some people like to go skiing and stuff like that. Me, I moved away from Maryland to get away from the snow, so I like to be in warm weather places, where there's preferably a beach and I can lay out and really get that vitamin D. And so I make sure that I do that every once in a while, in order, like completely disconnect and enjoy life. And I
I
usually
love
do it
it.
around, times like birthdays and things of that nature where we're
Half
celebrating
birthdays.
something or someone.
So, what's the mindset block for a lot of firm owners against vacation, and how do we get over it?
Um, so it is. So when I ask why they're not taking trips, it's usually because I can't be gone for X amount of time from the business. So if it's from the business, you got to figure out how can we duplicate yourself, or do workflows to the point where if you're gone for 4 days, at least everything from step 1 through 6 are done, and you can complete step 7 for these projects when you get back, or get someone to complete step 7 so you're good to go. That's the ultimate goal. The
Right.
other pushback I get is family related, where it's like, oh, I got a kid. I can't be away from my wife that long. Well, bring them with you. Make it a family thing. Hire the wife, hire your kid. It's tax deductible, make it work for you. So those are the usual ones that I get. And it's because in this industry, lawyers are bred to believe that you need to be work. Like overworking yourself is praised in this industry, which
Yeah.
I
That's the
am
billable
hoping
hour.
yeah, so which I am hoping to help transition people out of that mindset. It's not going to happen overnight and it's not going to happen with me alone, but I feel like there's enough people like you and me who are promoting this lifestyle where you're able to have balance.
Well, and here's the thing. The the speed of technological innovation is only going to get faster. If you are a billable hour, you're lose every time a new AI program comes out, you're losing money, as opposed to flat
Right.
fee, where now you are making it more profitable to utilize all these technological advancements in a way where you still deliver the same or even more value to clients. Like our entire
Hmm.
billable hour business model is the antithesis of progress.
Right. Especially like if someone's used to paying, I'm gonna just throw a number out there, $2,000 for a contract, right?
Yeah.
And your billable rate is 400, and you used to be able to do it for it used to take you 5 hours to do it, and you would get $2,000. Now you can do it in an hour using certain tools, and if you do it that way, then you're only going to get $400 versus if you went to flat fee, like you said, you can still charge that $2,000 and get and only take 1 hour and you're able to increase your capacity.
Right. Well, and access to justice, okay? So take those other
Yep.
couple hours and take cases pro bono and volunteer for a
Right.
nonprofit and, review contracts for underserved parts of the community. Like this I'm not sitting here as let's build these ivory towers out of cash and sit back and relax, but like let's actually use our time in a way that brings us happiness.
Yep. So ultimately, one day, maybe 5, 10 years from now, you'll be interviewing me, and I'll be the owner of a nonprofit that will help. My goal is to become so rich that I'm able to create this nonprofit where I'm able to, do things like provide estate plans for for attorneys, or provide them with grants so that they can hire, so that they can create more work-life balance. There's quite a few things that I'm planning to do.
I dig it. Well, and then health insurance, right? Like, let's find a way to get enough attorneys together for a group health plan that is actually financially viable for everybody, employer and employee.
Right. Yep.
Cool. All right, so we'll come back for a wrap up. Next week, everybody watching and listening, I'm going to give you an apology. Normally, I have amazing guests. Next week, you're going to be stuck with me and just me. But I think it's on a really good topic. So David Allen talks about this concept of mind like water in his book, Getting Things Done. This ability for us to like relax our mind and be able to truly think. Like the human mind is built to process information, not store it. So I have an episode breaking down how I have a mind like water. And I'll be honest, it's not 100% of the time. But I can tell you when I do it, I sleep better, I think better, I have more patience. So this is a very tactical how to do it. That'll be coming out next week. For anybody who's been watching or listening for the last, 50 or so minutes, any final takeaways, most important things you want them to remember?
I want to challenge everyone to set a goal to take at least 4 trips a year and work backwards on how you can do that. And then report back to me how you feel after that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear how that helps anyone.
Well, but I just imagine, okay, so let's say 4 trips, let's call them at the very least long weekends. You're losing, 2 days of work, so that's 8 days, that's 32 hours. So I loved your thing. I really want to echo that. Like, if it currently takes me an hour to review this and I make a checklist that makes it only take half an hour, so that's 30 minutes every time. So if you need 32 hours back, anything that you review 64 times a year, so just more than once a week, this checklist will give you back those 32 hours right there to give you 8 days off, to give you extra long weekends 4 times a year.
Yes, exactly.
You got my wheel spinning on this one, man. I'm like, this is the most actionable tip that I have been given, I have heard. So we're implementing this for everybody. Everybody needs to steal that. All right. And then, so for people to connect with you more, hear more info, get help with their accounting stuff, their consulting needs from you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Best way is to go to our website, accounting-atlanta.com, or click the link in my bio, either on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook. They can find me. I'm mostly on Instagram at the Great Jayden.
There we go. I love it, man. All right. Thank you, Jayden, for being with us. Thank you, everybody who watched and listened. We'll see you back here next week for Mind Like Water with yours truly. In the meantime, create those checklists, get it on your calendar, plan the 4 trips. Like, you got this. It just takes a little bit of action and some thought.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.